NY Driver's Manual. Flashcard 1. Signs. Basic overview. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, traffic signs tell you about traffic rules, special hazards, where you are, how to get to where you are going, and where services are available. The shape and color of traffic signs give indications to the type of information they provide. Flashcard 2. Regulation signs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, are normally white rectangles with black letters or symbols, but some are different shapes, and some can use red letters or symbols. Flashcard 3. Warning signs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, normally are yellow and diamond-shaped, with black letters or symbols. Flashcard 4. Destination signs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, are green with white letters and symbols, show the direction and distance to locations. Flashcard 5. Service signs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, are blue with white letters and symbols, show the location of services like rest areas, gas stations, camping and medical facilities. Flashcard 6. Stop sign. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, red with white letters, means to come to a full stop, yield the right of way to vehicles and pedestrians and are heading toward the intersection. Go when it is safe. You must come to a stop before the stop line, if there is one. If not, you must stop before you enter the crosswalk. If there is no stop line or crosswalk, you must stop before you enter the intersection, at the point nearest the intersection that gives you a view of traffic on the intersecting roadway. Flashcard 7. Yield sign. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, red and white with red letters, means to decrease speed as you reach the intersection. Prepare to stop and yield the right of way to vehicles and pedestrians and are heading toward the intersection. You must come to a full stop at a yield sign if traffic conditions require it. When you approach a yield sign, check carefully for traffic and be prepared to stop. Flashcard 8. Other regulation signs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, white with black and slash or red letters or symbols. These signs give information about rules for traffic direction, lane use, turns, speed, parking and other special requirements. Some regulation signs have a red circle with a slash over a symbol. This indicates that an action, like a right turn, is not allowed or that some vehicles are restricted from the road. Rectangular white signs with black or red letters or symbols are indications to be alert for special rules. Flashcard 9. Work area signs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, yellow with black letters or symbols, means you are approaching a hazardous location or a location where there is a special rule, as shown in the sample signs. Sometimes a warning sign is joined with a yellow and black recommended speed sign. This indicates reduced speed is advised in that area. Flashcard 10. Route signs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, varied colors indicate interstate, U.S. state or county routes. The shape tells you the type of route you are on. The sample signs, left to right, are for state, U.S. and interstate routes. When you plan a trip, use a highway map to decide which routes to take. During the trip, watch for destination signs so you will not get lost, or have to turn or stop suddenly. Flashcard 11. Traffic lights. Basic overview. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, traffic lights are normally red, yellow and green from the top to bottom or left to right. At some intersections, there are lone red, yellow or green lights. Some traffic lights are steady, others flash. Some are round, and some are arrows. State law requires that if the traffic lights or controls are out of service or does not operate correctly, when you approach an intersection, you must come to a stop as you would for a stop sign. You must then continue according to the rules of right-of-way, unless you are told to continue by a traffic officer. Flashcard 12. Steady red. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, stop. Do not go until the light is green. If a green arrow is shown with a red light, you can go toward the arrow and only if the intersection is clear. You can make a right turn at a steady red light after you come to a full stop and yield the right of way to oncoming traffic and pedestrians. You can make a left turn at a steady red light when you turn from a one-way road into another one-way road after you come to a full stop and yield the right of way to oncoming traffic and pedestrians. You cannot make a turn at a red light if there is a no turn on RED sign posted or another sign, signal or pavement marking prevents the turn. You are not allowed to turn on a red light in New York City unless a sign that permits it is posted. The driver of a school bus containing pupils cannot turn right on any red light. Flashcard 13. Flashing red. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, means the same as a stop sign. Stop. Yield the right of way and go when it is safe. Flashcard 14. Red arrow. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, do not go in the direction of the arrow until the red arrow light is off, and a green light or arrow light goes on. A right or left turn on red is not permitted at a red arrow. Flashcard 15. Steady yellow. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, the light will change from green to red. Be prepared to stop for the red light. Flashcard 16. Flashing yellow. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, drive with caution. Flashcard 17. Yellow arrow. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, the protection of a green arrow will end. If you intend to turn in the direction of the arrow, be prepared to stop. Flashcard 18. Steady green. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, go, but yield the right of way to other traffic at the intersection as required by law. Flashcard 19. Green arrow. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you can go in the direction of the arrow, but you must yield the right of way to other traffic at the intersection as required by law. Flashcard 20. Steady red X. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, do not drive in this lane. Flashcard 21. Steady yellow X. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, move from this lane. Flashcard 22. Flashing yellow X. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, this lane can only be used for a left turn. Flashcard 23. Green arrow lane use control lights. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you can use this lane. Flashcard 24. Pavement markings. Basic overview. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, lines and symbols on the roadway divide lanes and tell you when you can pass other vehicles or change lanes. They also tell you which lanes to use for turns and where you must stop for signs or traffic signals. The arrows on these illustrations show the direction of traffic. Flashcard 25. Edge and lane lines. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, solid lines along the side of the road tell you where its edge is, where the travel lane ends and the shoulder begins. It is illegal to drive across the edge line, except when told to by a police officer or other authorized official or when allowed by an official sign. An edge line that angles toward the center of the road shows that the road is narrow ahead. Lines that separate lanes of traffic that moves in the same direction are white. Lines that separate traffic that moves in opposite directions are yellow. There may be two lines between lanes and lines can be solid or broken. Flashcard 26. One broken line. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you can pass other vehicles or change lanes, if you can do so safely without interfering with traffic. Flashcard 27. Solid line with broken line. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, if you are on the side with the solid line, you cannot pass other vehicles or go across the line except to make a left turn into a driveway. If you are on the side with the broken line, you can pass if it is safe to and you will not interfere with traffic. Flashcard 28. Double solid lines. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you cannot pass or change lanes. You cannot go across the lines except to turn left to enter or leave the highway, for example to, or from a driveway, or to do a U-turn. Flashcard 29. One solid line. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you can pass other vehicles or change lanes, but you can only do so when obstructions in the road or traffic conditions make it necessary. Flashcard 30. Stop and crosswalk lines. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, at an intersection controlled by a stop sign, yield sign or traffic light, there can be the white stop line painted across the lane, and slash or two parallel lines or light. You must reach the stop line, if there is one, or the crosswalk. You need a stop line or crosswalk if required to by a light, sign or traffic officer, or to yield to a pedestrian, inline skater or scooter at a marked or unmarked crosswalk. Flashcard 31. Arrows. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, arrows show which lanes you must use. In this illustration, for example, you can turn right only from the right lane. To go straight, you must use the left lane. You must be in the correct lane before you reach the solid line that separates the lanes. Flashcard 32. Diamond symbol. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, this symbol indicates reserved lanes for buses, HOV high occupancy vehicles like carpools and van pools, bicycles or other special vehicles. You cannot enter and use these lanes unless your vehicle complies with the occupancy or other requirements indicated by signs for the times the special conditions are in effect. When used to designate reserved lanes on city streets, sections of the solid white line that separates the diamond lanes from the normal lanes can be replaced by broken white lines. In these locations, non-HOV can enter the HOV lane if they make a right turn at the next intersection. Bus lanes and HOV lanes are to promote the most efficient use of limited street and highway capacity. They assure that vehicles with the highest importance move the fastest. Flashcard 33. Traffic officers. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, directions given by traffic officers take precedence over signs, signals or pavement markings. If a traffic officer signals you to stop at a green light, for example, you must stop. If an officer signals you to drive through a red light or stop sign, you must do it. Among the persons authorized to direct traffic are police officers, fire police, highway work area flag persons and school crossing persons. Flashcard 34. Right of way. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, traffic signs, signals and pavement markings do not always resolve traffic conflicts. A green light, for example, does not resolve the conflict of when a car turns left at an intersection, while an approaching car goes straight through the intersection. The right-of-way rules help resolve these conflicts. They tell you who goes first and who must wait in different conditions. Here are examples of right-of-way rules. A driver who approaches an intersection must yield the right-of-way to traffic that is in the intersection. Example: you approach an intersection. The traffic light is green and you want to drive straight through. Another vehicle is already in the intersection making a left turn. You must let that vehicle complete its turn before you enter the intersection. If drivers approaching from opposite directions reach an intersection at about the same time, a driver that turns left must yield to traffic that moves straight or turns right. Example: you want to turn left at an intersection ahead. A vehicle reaches the intersection from the opposite direction and moves straight ahead. You must wait for approaching traffic to go through before you turn. You may enter the intersection to prepare for your left turn. If the light is green and no other vehicle ahead of you plans to make a left turn, see turns later in this chapter. When you enter the intersection, keep to the right of the center line. Keep your wheels straight to prevent being pushed into oncoming traffic if your vehicle is hit from behind. When traffic headed toward you clears or stops for a red light, complete your turn when you can do so safely. You must also yield to traffic headed toward you when you turn left into a driveway, parking lot or other area, even if there are no signs or signals that control the turn. For any left turn, the law requires you to yield to any traffic headed toward you that is close enough to be a hazard. The decision about when traffic is too close takes experience and judgment. If you have any concern, wait for traffic to pass before you turn left at intersections not controlled by signs or signals, or where two or more drivers stop at stop signs at the same time and they are at right angles. The driver on the left must yield the right of way to the driver on the right. Example: you are stopped at a stop sign and you are going to go straight through the intersection. A driver on the crossroad has stopped at a stop sign on your right and is also going to go straight. You must yield the right of way to the other driver. A vehicle that enters a roadway from a driveway, alley, private road, or another place that is not a roadway must stop and yield the right of way to traffic on the roadway and to pedestrians. Example: you are driving out of a parking lot and turn right as you enter a street. A vehicle approaches from your left. You must stop and wait for the vehicle to pass before you enter the street. If you were to turn left, you would have to yield to vehicles that approach from both directions. If a pedestrian walked across the parking lot exit, you would have to wait for that person to go across. Drivers must yield to pedestrians who legally use marked or unmarked crosswalks. This means you must slow down or stop if necessary. Example: you are stopped at a red light. A pedestrian steps into the crosswalk, and then the light turns green. You must wait for the pedestrian to go across. You must also yield to pedestrians in crosswalks on your left or right before you turn. You cannot enter an intersection if traffic is backed up on the other side and you cannot get completely through the intersection. Wait until traffic ahead clears, so you do not block the intersection. Be alert to cross streets or offset intersections so that you don't cause gridlock by blocking another street. A driver who enters a traffic circle or rotary must yield the right of way to drivers already in the circle. For more information on how to drive in a rotary, see How to Drive Through a Roundabout in Chapter 8 of this manual. Flashcard 35. Emergency vehicles. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you must yield the right of way to fire, ambulance, police and other authorized emergency vehicles when they respond to emergencies. They will display lights that are flashing red, red and blue or red and white and sound a siren or air horn. When you hear or see an emergency vehicle heading toward your vehicle from any direction, safely pull over immediately to the right edge of the road and stop. Wait until the emergency vehicle passes before you drive on. If you are in an intersection, drive out of it before you pull over. You must pull over and stop for an emergency vehicle even if it is headed toward you in the opposite lane of a two-way roadway. If you hear a siren or air horn close by, but do not know exactly where the emergency vehicle is, you can safely pull over to the right side edge of the road and stop until you are sure it is not headed toward you. An emergency vehicle that uses lights and a siren or air horn can be unpredictable. The driver can legally exceed the speed limit, pass red lights and stop or yield signs, go the wrong way on one-way streets and turn in directions not normally allowed. Although emergency vehicle drivers are required to be careful, be very cautious when an emergency vehicle heads toward you. Flashcard 36. Move over law. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, this law requires every driver to exercise care to avoid colliding with an authorized emergency or hazard vehicle that is parked, stopped or standing on the shoulder or any portion of the highway with its emergency lights or one or more amber hazard lights activated. Drivers must reduce speed on all roads when encountering such vehicles, but on parkways, interstates and other controlled access roads with multiple lanes, drivers are further required to move from the lane adjacent to the emergency or hazard vehicle unless traffic or other hazards prevent doing so safely. Drivers are also required to move over for vehicles with blue and green lights, which are described in the next section. Violations of this law are punishable as a moving violation. Flashcard 37. Blue, green, and amber lights. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, personal vehicles driven by volunteer firefighters responding to alarms are allowed to display blue lights, and those driven by volunteer ambulance or rescue squad members can display green lights. Amber lights on hazard vehicles such as snow plows and tow trucks warn other drivers of possible dangers. Flashing amber lights are also used on rural mail delivery vehicles and school buses to warn traffic of their presence. The vehicles that display blue, green or amber lights are not authorized emergency vehicles. Their drivers must obey all traffic laws. While you are not required to yield the right of way, you should yield as a courtesy if you can safely do so. Flashcard 38. Turns. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, always signal before you turn or change lanes. It is important that other highway users know your intentions. The law requires you to signal a turn or lane change with your turn lights or hand signals at least 100 feet 30 meters ahead. A good safety tip is, when possible, to signal your intention to turn before you begin to brake or make the turn. The proper hand signals are shown below. Remember these other tips when you prepare to turn. Reduce your speed. Be alert for traffic on all sides. Take special caution to check for motorcycles. Most crashes that involve motorcycles and other vehicles are caused because the driver of another vehicle has failed to see the motorcycle. Keep your wheels straight until you actually begin to make your turn. If your wheels are turned and you are hit from behind, your vehicle could be pushed into the oncoming lane of traffic. Remember that your rear wheels will travel inside the path of the front wheels, nearer to the curb right turn or to traffic headed toward you left turn. Watch for pedestrians, bicyclists and moped riders, especially on right turns. They are often difficult to see in traffic. Be especially alert to individuals in wheelchairs, people pushing strollers, or someone pulling a wheeled suitcase behind them. They may be closer to the ground and hidden behind a car. The following illustrations show the correct position of your vehicle for turns. These positions are from requirements in the law and are not just good advice. Flashcard 39. Right turn. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, as you prepare to turn, get as far to the right as possible. Do not make wide, sweeping turns. Unless signs direct you to do otherwise, turn into the right lane of the road you enter. Flashcard 40. Left turn from one-way road into one-way road. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, move into the left lane when you prepare to turn. If the road you enter has two lanes, you must turn into its left lane. Flashcard 41. Left turn from one-way road into two-way road. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, approach the turn in the left lane. As you proceed through the intersection, enter the two-way road to the right of its center line, but as close as possible to the center line. Be alert for traffic that approaches from the road to the left. Motorcycles are hard to see, and it is hard to judge their speed and distance away. Flashcard 42. Left turn from two-way road into two-way road. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, approach the turn from the right half of the roadway closest to the center. Try to use the left side of the intersection to help make sure that you do not interfere with traffic headed toward you that wants to turn left. Keep to the right of the center line of the road you enter, but as close as possible to the center line. Be alert for traffic heading toward you from the left and from the lane you are about to go across. Motorcycles headed toward you are hard to see, and it is difficult to judge their speed and distance away. Drivers often fail to see a motorcycle headed toward them and hit it while they turn across a traffic lane. Flashcard 43. Left turn from two-way road into one-way road. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, approach the turn from the right half of the roadway closest to the center. Make the turn before you reach the center of the intersection, and turn into the left lane of the road you enter. Flashcard 44. Left turn from two-way road into four-lane highway. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, approach the turn from the right half of the roadway closest to the center. Enter the left lane, to the right of the center line. When traffic permits, you can move out of the left lane. Flashcard 45. U-turns. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, a U-turn is any turn you make so you can proceed in the opposite direction. Do not try a U-turn on a highway unless absolutely necessary. If you must turn around, use a parking lot, driveway or other area, and, if possible, enter the roadway as you move forward, not backing up. You can make a U-turn only from the left portion of the lane nearest to the center line of the roadway, never from the right lane. Unless signs tell you otherwise, you can make a U-turn when you get permission to proceed by a green arrow left turn traffic signal, provided it is allowed and you yield to other traffic. You cannot make a U-turn near the top of a hill, a curve or any other location, where other drivers cannot see your vehicle from 500 feet 150 meters away in either direction. U-turns are also illegal in business districts of New York City and where no U-turn signs are provided. You can never make a U-turn on a limited access expressway, even if paths connect your side of the expressway with the other side. In addition, it is prohibited for a vehicle to make a U-turn in a school zone. Flashcard 46. 3-point turn. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, unless prohibited, a 3-point turn may be used to turn around on a narrow, two-way street. You may be required to make a 3-point turn on your road test. Signal with your right turn signal, then pull over to the right and stop. Signal with your left turn signal, then check carefully for traffic from all directions. Turn left. Go across the road so you come to a stop while you face the left curb or edge of the road. Look again for traffic. Turn your steering wheel as far to the right as possible, then look behind you as you back up. Stop before you reach the right curb or any obstacle to the right curb or edge of the road. Stop. Check again for other traffic, then turn your steering wheel all the way to the left and pull forward to complete your turn when it is safe. Flashcard 47. How to pass on the left. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, the left lane is normally used to pass other vehicles. You cannot pass a vehicle on the left if your lane has a solid yellow center line. You cannot safely return to the right lane before you reach a solid yellow center line for the right lane. You cannot safely return to the right lane before any oncoming vehicle comes within 200 feet 60 meters of you. You approach a curve or the top of a hill on a two-way road and cannot see around or over it. You are within 100 feet 30 meters of a railroad crossing on a two-way roadway. You are within 100 feet 30 meters of a bridge, tunnel or viaduct on a two-way road and your view is obstructed. If you try to pass, you will interfere with oncoming traffic. If conditions are correct to pass, check in your mirrors and signal your lane change. Before you pull into the left lane, look quickly over your left shoulder, through the back side window, to make sure there is no vehicle close behind you in the left lane. Never depend on your mirrors when you prepare to change lanes. Even correctly adjusted mirrors will leave blind spots behind both sides of your vehicle. If a vehicle is in the blind spot, you may not see it in your mirrors. Always quickly look over your shoulder before you change lanes or pass. When you pass, move completely into the left lane. Before you return to the right lane, signal and look at your interior rearview mirror and make sure you can see the front bumper of the vehicle you passed. Look quickly over your right shoulder to make sure that you can see at least several feet of pavement between your vehicle and the one you passed. Then return to the right lane. Flashcard 48. How to pass on the right. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you can normally pass other vehicles on the left. Some situations allow you to pass on the right. You can pass a vehicle on the right only in the conditions listed below and only if you can pass safely. You cannot drive on or across the shoulder or edge line of the road unless a sign allows it or, when indicated by a traffic officer, see Chapter 4. You may pass on the right when a vehicle ahead makes a left turn, when you are on a two-way road that is marked for 2 or more lanes or is wide enough for 2 or more lanes, and passing is not prohibited by signs or restricted by parked cars or other obstructions. When you drive on a one-way road that is marked for 2 or more lanes or is wide enough for 2 or more lanes, and passing is not prohibited by signs or restricted by parked cars or other obstructions. If you prepare to pass on the right at an intersection, check the traffic ahead carefully. Make sure a vehicle that is approaching is not prepared to turn left into your path, and watch at the right side of the road for pedestrians, bicyclists, inline skaters and moped riders. Before you pass on the right on multi-lane roads like expressways, make sure you check your mirrors, use the correct signals for the lane change and look over your right shoulder for other vehicles. After you pass, make sure to quickly look over your left shoulder and signal before you return to the left lane. Flashcard 49. Speeding past. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, if another vehicle passes you on the left, decrease your speed slightly and stay centered in your lane. When the vehicle has safely passed and is ahead of you, continue at your normal speed. If you find that you are being passed on the right by many vehicles, you should move into the right lane and allow them to pass you on the left. Flashcard 50. Cool buses. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, when a stopped school bus flashes its red light S, traffic that approaches from either direction, even in front of the school and in school parking lots, must stop before it reaches the bus. You should stop at least 20 feet 6 meters away from the bus. You can identify this bus by a school bus sign, the red lights on the top, and its unique yellow-orange color. Before a school bus stops to load or discharge passengers, the driver will usually flash yellow warning lights. When you see them, decrease speed and be prepared to stop. When you stop for a school bus, you cannot drive again until the red lights stop flashing or when the bus driver or a traffic officer signals that you can proceed. This law applies on all roadways in New York State. You must stop for a school bus even if it is on the opposite side of a divided highway. After you stop for a school bus, look for children along the side of the road. Drive slowly until you have passed them. Safety tip. Most school bus-related deaths and injuries occur while children cross the street after being discharged from the bus, not in collisions that involve school buses. Remember that vehicles that transport people with disabilities can be equipped as school buses and you must stop for them as you would for other school buses. The fine when you pass a stopped school bus ranges from a minimum of $250 for a first violation to a maximum of $1,000 for 3 violations in 3 years. If you are convicted of 3 of these violations in 3 years, your driver license will be revoked for a minimum of 6 months. Flashcard 51. Passing. Basic overview. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, the law requires that we drive on the right side of the road. When we are allowed to pass other vehicles, we usually pass other vehicles on the left. You are permitted to pass on the right only in certain circumstances, and it must be done only when necessary and safe. When you pass other vehicles or change lanes to keep away from hazards, do so with caution and only when necessary. You must not exceed the speed limit to pass another vehicle. When you pass a motorcycle, remember to give the motorcycle the same full lane width as other vehicles are allowed. Never move into the same lane space as a motorcycle, even if the lane is wide and the motorcycle is to one side. The law requires you to use turn signal lamps or hand and arm signals to indicate your intention to change lanes at least 100 feet 30 meters before you make a lane change. You must never pass a vehicle that has stopped at a crosswalk to allow a pedestrian to go across. Flashcard 52. How to park. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, many motorists consider parallel parking the most difficult part of driving, but practice will teach you how to back up correctly and to judge distances and angles. Some vehicles have additional safety equipment such as backup cameras and range-detecting sensors to help the driver back up safely. Some vehicles can even park themselves in certain conditions. Although these can be useful features, you need to be alert and check the area behind your vehicle before you back up. You as the driver are ultimately responsible for the safe operation of your vehicle. The following instructions are general. You must adjust parallel parking procedures to the particular situation. Practice is the only method to learn correctly. Select a space that is large enough for your vehicle on your side of the road. Check your mirrors before you stop, and signal to warn other drivers. Stop next to the vehicle in front of the space and leave about 2 feet between the other vehicle and your vehicle parallel parking step. Look behind you over both shoulders to make sure you will not interfere with pedestrians or oncoming traffic. Back the vehicle slowly and begin to turn your steering wheel completely toward the near curb. Look through the rear window, not the mirrors, when you back up. Look to the side and front occasionally to make sure you will not touch the vehicle ahead parallel parking step. When your front wheels are opposite the back bumper of the vehicle ahead, turn the steering wheel the other way while you continue to back up. Make sure you clear the vehicle ahead. Look back and stop to ensure you do not bump the vehicle behind you parallel parking step. Bring your wheels straight and pull forward. Allow room for the vehicles ahead and behind you. In your final parking position, your wheels must be no more than 1 foot 30 centimeters from the curb parallel parking step to get near to the curb. Alternately pull forward and back up, and turn the steering wheel first toward the curb and then quickly straight again. After parking, remember that you must not open the door on the roadside, if it will interfere with bicyclists and other traffic. Flashcard 53. How to park on a hill. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, after you park on a hill, make sure to set your parking brake. Put the transmission in park, or, if your vehicle has a manual transmission, put the transmission into first gear. Turn the wheels toward the curb or side of the road, so they will keep your vehicle from heading into traffic. Flashcard 54. How to pull out from parallel parking. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, to pull away from a parallel parking space, make sure your wheels are straight. Back up to the vehicle behind you and turn your wheels away from the curb. 6 steps to enter safely into traffic. 1. Turn your head to look over your right shoulder and check through the rear window for pedestrians, bicyclists, motorcyclists and other vehicles that can become a hazard. 2. Use your interior rearview mirror to help keep an eye on hazards behind your vehicle. 3. Signal your intentions to move from your parking space into traffic. 4. Check your side mirrors for oncoming vehicles, pedestrians, bicyclists, inline skaters, motorcyclists and other highway users. 5. Turn your head to look over your left shoulder out through the rear window and begin to slowly drive forward. Make sure you can avoid the vehicle parked ahead when you enter traffic. 6. Turn your head and look over your left shoulder to look through the rear window. Drive into the traffic lane when it is safe to do so. Flashcard 55. Parking regulations. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, what people understand as parking is legally divided into 3 categories: parking, standing and stopping. Parking is when a vehicle is stopped, occupied or not, other than temporarily for the purpose of loading or unloading merchandise or passengers. Standing is similar to parking, except that it only relates to receiving or discharging passengers. Stopping is literally that, bringing the vehicle to a stop even temporarily. A no parking sign means you can make a temporary stop to load or discharge merchandise or passengers. A no standing sign means you can make a temporary stop to load or discharge passengers. The driver cannot exit the vehicle. A no stopping sign means you can stop only to obey a traffic sign, signal or officer or to prevent conflicts with other vehicles. Besides parking, standing and stopping rules, there are statewide rules not always indicated by signs. You cannot park, stop or stand within 15 feet 5 meters of a fire hydrant, unless a licensed driver remains in the vehicle to move it in an emergency. On the roadside of a parked vehicle, double parking, on a sidewalk or in a crosswalk, in an intersection, unless permitted by signs or parking meters, on railroad tracks, next to or opposite roadwork, construction or other obstructions if your vehicle blocks traffic, within 30 feet 10 meters of a pedestrian safety area, unless another distance is marked, on a bridge or in a tunnel. Parking or standing is not allowed in front of a driveway, within 20 feet 6 meters of a crosswalk at an intersection, within 30 feet 10 meters of a traffic light, stop sign or yield sign, within 20 feet 6 meters of a fire station driveway, or within 75 feet 23 meters on the opposite side of the road, along a curb that is cut, lowered or made for access to the sidewalk. You cannot park your vehicle within 50 feet 15 meters of a railroad crossing. Flashcard 56. Reserved parking for people with disabilities. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, parking reserved for persons with disabilities is a legal requirement. These special parking spaces for motorists with disabilities ensure safe and equal access to goods and services, access which is taken for granted by many persons. You can park in reserved spaces only if you have a permit or vehicle plates for persons with disabilities, and only when the person who received the permit or vehicle plates is in the vehicle. It is illegal for any vehicle to park, stop or stand in a space reserved for people with disabilities unless it has vehicle plates for people with disabilities issued by the DMV, a New York State parking permit for people with disabilities issued by a city, town, county or village, or a similar plate or permit issued by another state. The vehicle must be in operation to transport the person with disabilities described in the registration or permit. This law applies to spaces reserved and provided by local ordinance on streets and highways and those held for special use by state law in shopping centers that have 5 or more stores and 20 or more off-street public parking spaces. It is a misdemeanor to make a false statement or give false information on an application for vehicle plates. If you make a false statement or provide false information to get a parking permit for a person with a disability, you face a fine from $250 to $1,000, plus a mandatory surcharge of $30 and possible civil penalties from $250 to $1,000. These penalties apply to the applicant and to a doctor provides certification. To apply for vehicle plates for the disabled or for a NYS parking permit for the disabled, use the MV 664.1 instructions and application for a parking permit or license plates for people with severe disabilities. Reserved spaces must be marked with signs like the one shown above and also can be designated with pavement markings. Do not park in the spaces with diagonal stripes next to reserved parking areas. These spaces are needed to give access to those with wheelchairs and vehicles with special equipment. The fines for parking violations on a street are set by municipalities. Unless a municipality sets higher penalties, the fine for a shopping center violation is $50 to $75 for a first offense and $75 to $150 for a second offense within 2 years in the same municipality. A mandatory surcharge of $30 will be added to each penalty. Flashcard 57. Be prepared and look ahead. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you should sit in a comfortable but vertical position and keep both hands on the steering wheel. Slouching in the driver's seat or using only one hand on the wheel makes it more difficult or even dangerous to control your vehicle. Traffic conditions change continuously. Always scan the road ahead. Do not use the road or even the vehicle ahead as your only points of focus. Look ahead so you can prevent or decrease possible problems. Keep your eyes moving. Notice what is happening at the sides of the road and check behind you through your mirrors every few seconds. Anticipate errors by other drivers, bicyclists and pedestrians and think about what you will do if an error occurs. Do not assume that a driver who approaches a stop or yield sign on a side road is actually going to stop or yield. It is better to assume the other driver will not stop. Flashcard 58. Driver distractions. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, a distraction is anything that takes your attention away from driving. Distracted driving can cause crashes, resulting in injury, death, or property damage. Taking your eyes off the road or hands off the steering wheel presents obvious driving risks. Mental activities that take your mind away from driving are just as dangerous. When driving, do not use cell phones or text. Avoid arguments and stressful or emotional conversations with passengers. Avoid eating while driving. Be sure children are properly and safely restrained. Properly secure pets in a pet carrier or portable kennel. You must pay attention to the driving task. You are responsible for operating your vehicle in a safe manner. Flashcard 59. Aggressive drivers. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, aggressive driving includes speeding, which often leads to following too closely, frequent or quick lane changes without a signal, passing on the shoulder or parts of the roadway that are not paved, or being a nuisance to motorists, bicyclists or pedestrians who don't get out of the way. Aggressive drivers sometimes run stop signs and red lights, pass stopped school buses, fail to keep right, drive while impaired by alcohol or drugs, and drive in a reckless manner. Some aggressive drivers try to cause damage to another driver, and that is how aggressive driving becomes road rage. To prevent road rage, it is sometimes better not to make eye contact with another driver. The other driver can take this as being challenged. When an aggressive driver confronts you, do not make eye contact. Remain calm and relaxed. Try to move away safely. Do not challenge an aggressive driver with increased speed or try to hold your position in your travel lane. Wear a seatbelt and encourage your passengers to do the same. Ignore gestures and shouts and do not return them. Report aggressive drivers to law enforcement authorities and give a vehicle description, location, vehicle plate number and direction of travel. If an aggressive driver is following you, do not stop or leave your vehicle. Drive to the nearest police station. If an aggressive driver is involved in a crash, stop a safe distance from the crash scene. When the police arrive, report the driving behavior you saw. To avoid becoming an aggressive driver, allow enough travel time to reach your destination on schedule. Adjust your schedule to prevent driving during times with the most highway traffic. If you are late, call ahead so you can relax. Do not drive when you are angry, upset or very tired. Make your vehicle comfortable. Listen to relaxing music and prevent conditions that make you anxious. When you drive, relax and be aware of how you sit. Sit back in your seat. Loosen your hold on the steering wheel and do not grind your teeth. Be polite, courteous and forgiving to other drivers. You can control how you react. If another person drives aggressively, do not do the same. If you have the right of way, do not think of it as a complete right. Be prepared to yield the right of way to other highway users. To wait a few seconds for another driver is far better than to risk a crash. Flashcard 60. Road rage. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, what is road rage? Road rage is an angry, hostile state which can increase into violent criminal actions or attempts of violent actions that result from the operation of a motor vehicle. Road rage can include behavior to provoke others or to make them fearful. Aggressive driving is not road rage. However, aggressive driving can become road rage. Aggressive driving generally involves the violation of a traffic safety law, while road rage involves the breaking of a criminal law. Who can become road raged? It could happen to anyone when our irritation or anger with others leads us to behavior that is a threat to ourselves and to the safety and lives of others on and near the road or highways. To endanger, threaten or assault another person is illegal. These behaviors can result in severe penalties that include fines, imprisonment and court-ordered probation. They can also mean revocation and suspension of a driver license. Road rage can include shouts, excessive use of a horn or obscene gestures and threats. Driving actions like, when you cut off another vehicle, drive too closely, block another vehicle so it cannot use a traffic lane, chase another vehicle or run it off the road, or deliberately slam into a vehicle. When you stop a vehicle at the side of the road and get out to threaten, attack, fight or injure another motorist or passenger or a pedestrian, bicyclist or other person. Research indicates that being in a state of rage can affect your blood pressure and your ability to reason and make decisions. As a driver, you will make more errors. The chance of being involved in a traffic crash will increase. Aggressive driving and road rage can lead to revoked or suspended driver licenses, problems between family members and friends, loss of employment and legal problems. Many drivers do not recognize when their own aggressive driving or their own road rage is affecting their ability to drive safely. State law requires every DMV-approved accident prevention course to address the hazards and dangers of road rage. For information about DMV-approved accident prevention courses, go to the DMV website at Point and Insurance Reduction Program. You can also contact one of the program sponsors. Information is available at any state or county motor vehicle office. Flashcard 61. Speed. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, you must obey the speed limit. If no limit is posted, drive no more than 55 miles per hour, 88 kilometers per hour. Often, it is common sense to keep your actual speed below the posted limit. For example, the legal limit on a slippery or fogged-in expressway might be 55 miles per hour, 88 kilometers per hour, or even 65 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour, but the safe speed to drive would be much lower. Even if you were to drive at 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers per hour on that hazardous highway, a police officer could ticket you for a speed not reasonable for the conditions. To keep a smooth traffic flow, some highways also have minimum speed limits. If you drive slower than the minimum speed, you can halt the traffic flow and create a dangerous condition. Even if there is no minimum speed limit, those driving too slow can be as dangerous as those who drive too fast. Know that some cities have speed limits less than 55 miles per hour, 88 kilometers per hour, that are not be always posted. For example, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour, 48 kilometers per hour in New York City unless another limit is posted. Flashcard 62. Allow yourself space. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, 4 of every 10 crashes involve rear-end collisions, normally because a person is following too closely tailgating. Leave enough room between your vehicle and the one ahead so you can stop safely if the other vehicle stops suddenly. Brake early and gently when you prepare to stop or turn. It gives drivers behind you plenty of warning that you plan to decrease your speed. For a good space cushion, use the 2-second rule. Select an object near or above the road ahead like a sign, tree or overpass. As the vehicle ahead passes it, count slowly, 1001, 1002. If you reach the same object before you finish the count, you are following too closely. In bad weather, and when following large trucks, increase the count to at least 3 or 4 seconds for additional space. If a driver follows you too closely, tailgates, move to another lane if possible, or reduce speed and pull off the road to let the driver go by. Make sure to signal when you drive off the road, and when you return to it. Do not press your brakes suddenly or unnecessarily, as this may startle the motorist behind you, and could escalate into road rage. In case you must change lanes quickly or pull over to avoid a hazard, leave some escape room to your left and right. Flashcard 63. Seat belts, child safety, and airbags. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, seat belts save lives and can prevent serious injuries in traffic crashes. This is why New York State requires seat belt use by adults in motor vehicles and seat belts, booster seats or child safety seats for children. New York is a primary enforcement state. A law enforcement officer can issue a traffic ticket for failure to wear a seat belt. This law also applies to visitor from outside New York State. Highlights of the New York State occupant restraint law. In the front seat, the driver and each passenger must be properly restrained, 1 person per belt. The driver and front seat passengers, age 16 or older, can each face a fine of up to $50 if they fail to buckle up. For vehicles driven by persons with a Class DJ learner permit or a Class DJ driver license, every occupant, no matter the age or seating position, must correctly use a safety restraint. The driver must make sure that each passenger under 16 obeys the law. The driver can face a fine of $25 to $100 and receive 3 penalty points on his driver license for each violation. Seatbelt use is not required in taxis or livery vehicles, emergency vehicles, 1964 or older vehicles, or by passengers in buses except school buses. Seatbelt use can be required by a school district. Rural letter carriers are also exempt when they are delivering mail. Every passenger under age 16 must use a safety restraint. If under age 4, persons must be correctly secured in a government-approved child safety seat that is attached to a vehicle by a safety belt or universal anchorage latch system. A child under age 4 who weighs more than 40 pounds can be restrained in a booster seat with a lap and shoulder belt. A child of age 4, 5, 6 or 7 must use a booster seat with lap and shoulder belt or a child safety seat. The child safety restraint system must meet the height and weight recommendations of the restraint manufacturer. Exception: a child more than 4 feet 9 inches in height or weighing more than 100 pounds is allowed to use a seat belt that has both a lap belt and a shoulder harness. If the seat belt does not fit correctly, the child must use a booster seat with a lap and shoulder belt. When you drive, you must make sure each person in your vehicle is properly restrained by a seat belt, child restraint system, or car seat. During a crash, a person not properly restrained becomes a flying object and a danger to each person in the vehicle. For added protection, adjust your vehicle headrest. Lock the doors and do not keep loose heavy objects in the passenger area. Put them in the trunk. Airbags are meant to work with seat belts, not to replace them. An airbag protects a front seat occupant in a head-on crash by inflating on impact and providing a cushion so the occupant does not collide with the steering wheel, dashboard or windshield. The combination of a seatbelt and an airbag offers maximum protection, partly because they help the driver maintain control of the vehicle and help prevent secondary collisions. Airbags expand quickly from the steering wheel and slash or dashboard. Most adults who are correctly fastened are safer in a vehicle with airbags, but the pressure of an airbag as it opens could injure those who sit too close to it. You should sit with at least 10 inches between the center of your chest and the cover of the airbag. Place your hands on the opposite sides of the steering wheel at the 3 and 9 o'clock positions to keep them away if the airbag engages. Important: never put an infant in a rear-facing child safety seat in the front seat of a vehicle that has a passenger airbag. Flashcard 64. How to drive safely in work zones. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, areas where road work takes place are dangerous to drive in and to work in. That is why when you speed in work zones, ticket fines double, even when the workers or work vehicles are not there. Expect to find a work zone. Wherever you drive, you may have to decrease speed quickly or even stop. Traffic lanes can shift or be completely closed. Workers and work vehicles can be on or near your driving lane. When you drive in a work zone, make it safer because you know what to do. Orange signs in the shape of diamonds, work zone warning signs, are often placed before road construction projects and other work areas that can change traffic flow. One sign can read, "Flagger ahead." A flagger is a worker who motions for you to stop, continue with caution, or change lanes. A flagger has the same authority as a sign, which indicates you can receive a ticket for disobeying their directions. Decrease speed. Be alert. Obey the signs. Work zone tips. Some signs can indicate a detour that allows you to avoid the work zone. If you already know where a work zone is ahead, you should try to use a different route. As you enter a work zone, flashing signs or signs with arrows or signs that warn lane closed ahead mean you should merge your vehicle into the correct lane when it is safe. Do not speed to the end of the closed lane and try to get into the other lane. If you move to the correct lane at first notice, you will drive in a calmer, more efficient and safe manner. Decrease your speed when a sign indicates roadwork 1,500 feet. That means your car, with a speed of 60 miles per hour, will get there in 17 seconds. The rear-end collision is the most common crash in a work zone. To avoid being involved in one, it helps to keep a braking distance of 2 seconds or more between you and the vehicle in front of you. C. Allow yourself space. Above, keep a safe distance between your vehicle and traffic barriers, trucks, construction equipment and workers. Some work zones are not stationary, like when workers paint lines, patch roads or mow. In these cases, the size and slash or location of the work zones may change. As work progresses, the work zone size may increase, decrease, or move to different sections of the roadway. Workers can be close even if you do not see them immediately after the warning signs. Obey the signs until you pass the one that states the work zone has ended. Flashcard 65. How to drive through a roundabout. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, a roundabout is a round intersection with a small diameter that makes drivers decrease speed, normally to 30 miles per hour or less. Studies show a roundabout can reduce the number and severity of accidents at an intersection, compared to intersections controlled by stop signs or traffic signals. Roundabouts, or rotaries, are now more common in New York State and other states. When using roundabouts or traffic circles, as you get near the roundabout, look for the street and direction signs you need. This will help you know which exit to take. These signs will be provided along the roadside before you reach the entrance to the roundabout. Slow down when you enter the roundabout. A sign, like the one above, warns of a roundabout. When you arrive at the roundabout, yield the right of way to any pedestrians and bicyclists. You must also yield to any drivers who were in the roundabout before you. Sometimes a stop sign or traffic signal will control your point of entry. When the traffic level allows enough space and time, you may enter the roundabout in a counterclockwise direction. While inside the roundabout, remain in your lane until you are ready to exit. Use your right turn signal to let the other users know your intention to move from the inside path to the outside path, or if you are in position to exit now, start to signal at the exit before the one you want to take. Do not change lanes or take an exit before you check for vehicles that may be continuing through the roundabout in the lane next to you or behind you. Expect vehicles to be in the blind spots you cannot see in your mirrors. See Blind Spots, Chapter 11. Flashcard 66. Drowsy and fatigue driving. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, driving and sleep do not mix. When you are behind the wheel of a car or truck, fatigue is dangerous. If you are tired when driving, you are slower to react and are not as aware as you should be, and your judgment will be impaired. As with drugs and alcohol, drowsiness can contribute to a traffic crash. Symptoms of fatigue. Researchers have found the following symptoms to be associated with drowsy driving. Your eyes close or go out of focus by themselves. You find it difficult to keep your head up. You continue to yawn. Your thoughts wander and are disconnected. You do not remember driving the last few miles. You drift between lanes, tailgate or miss traffic signs. You must jerk the car back into the lane. you have drifted off the road and hit the rumble strips, which produce a loud noise and vibrations. Who is most at risk? All drivers who are deprived of sleep or fatigued, driving long distances without rest breaks, driving through the night or at times when you are normally asleep, taking medication that increases sleepiness or drinking alcohol, driving alone, driving on long rural or boring roads, frequent travelers, for example business travelers and long-distance commuters. Young people. Drowsy driving crashes are most common for young people who tend to stay up late, sleep too little and drive at night. Shift workers. Drivers who have non-traditional work schedules have a greater risk of being involved in a fatigue-related traffic crash. People with undiagnosed sleep disorders. The presence of a sleep disorder increases the risk of crashes. If you find you are regularly tired in the daytime or experience any of these symptoms on a regular basis, you may have a sleep disorder and should seek medical help. Effective countermeasures. Prevention. Before you embark on a trip, you should get enough sleep. Plan to drive long trips with a companion. Schedule regular stops for every 100 miles or 2 hours. Avoid alcohol and medications over the counter and prescribed that may impair performance. Check with your doctor or pharmacist about any medication you are taking. Alcohol interacts with fatigue, increasing its effects. You are not at your best if you are ill or very tired. Do not drive for at least 15 minutes after waking from sleep. Actions for the drowsy driver. Once driving, you must recognize that you are close to sleep and cannot calculate when sleep may occur. Not depend on the radio, open window or other tricks to keep you awake. Find a safe place to stop for a break in response to symptoms of fatigue. Pull off into a safe area away from traffic and take a brief nap 15 to 45 minutes. Drink coffee or another source of caffeine to promote short-term alertness if needed. It takes about 30 minutes for caffeine to enter the bloodstream. Flashcard 67. Using a cellular or mobile telephone. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, a driver can become distracted from safe driving by use of a mobile telephone like a cellular telephone. In New York State, it is a traffic infraction to speak into or listen to a handheld mobile telephone while driving. For a first offense, you could pay a fine up to $200 and receive 5 license points. The phone may be handheld to activate, begin or end a call. Exemptions are provided for calls for emergency situations, for police and other law enforcement officers, and for fire department personnel and operators of authorized emergency vehicles in the performance of official duties. In New York State, a hands-free mobile telephone allows the user to communicate without the use of either hand. A driver can use a hands-free telephone at any time. Penalties for texting, electronic device use. In New York State, it is illegal to use portable electronic devices, such as cell phones and smartphones, to send or receive text messages or emails while driving. The penalty for a first offense is a fine of up to $200. A second offense, both committed within 18 months, is a fine up to $250. A third or subsequent offense, all committed within 18 months, is a fine up to $450. Also, drivers with probationary and junior licenses who use a handheld phone or text while driving will receive a 120-day suspension for a first conviction and a revocation of at least 1 year for subsequent convictions within 6 months of the time a license is restored after suspension. Flashcard 68. Vehicle condition. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, no person shall operate or park a vehicle on public highways unless it has been inspected at least once a year, but that does not mean it is the only time you should have safety equipment checked. Follow your owner's manual for routine maintenance. Have problems corrected by a qualified mechanic as soon as possible. Do not wait until mechanical problems cause breakdowns or crashes. Pay special attention to the maintenance and repair of the brakes, steering mechanism, lights, tires and horn. Depend on your owner's manual and an experienced mechanic as keys to a safe vehicle. It is the operator's responsibility to ensure that the vehicle being driven is safe. Here are some common problems and some equipment checks you can do. Brakes that pull to one side may be wet or may need to be adjusted or repaired. If wet, you can dry them riding the pedal lightly. If this does not help, have your brakes checked by a mechanic. If you notice any change in the brake performance, have them checked immediately. Steering. There should not be much free movement in the steering wheel. If your vehicle has power steering, check the fluid level periodically. A noise like a whine when you make a sharp turn can indicate a problem. Lights. Keep your lights clean and free of dirt, snow and ice. Broken lenses can cause dangerous glare for other drivers, so replace them as soon as you can. Make sure headlights are adjusted correctly to give you the best view of the road. Tires. The law requires that your tires have at least 2/32 and of an inch. 16 centimeters of tread. Most tires for passenger cars and light trucks have indicators called wear bars that show across the tire grooves when the minimum tread depth is reached. You can check your tread depth with a penny. Hold a penny with Abraham Lincoln's body between your thumb and forefinger. Place Lincoln's head first into the deepest looking groove. Can you see all of his head? If yes, your tires are too worn. Don't drive on them, and make sure to get them replaced. It is also illegal to drive with tires that have cuts down to the cords, bumps or bulges. Refer to your owner's manual or a tire store about correct tire pressure, and check it often with a reliable gauge. Glass. Keep your windows clean and clear. Replace worn wiper blades. Keep your defroster and rear window defogger in good condition and make sure there is enough windshield fluid in the reservoir. Horn. Your horn is important safety equipment that could become your only means of warning other drivers or pedestrians of possible problems. If the horn does not work, get it repaired as soon as possible. It should be used properly, not to express anger at other drivers or pedestrians. Flashcard 69. What alcohol does? Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, alcohol reduces reaction time, reduces your ability to see clearly, changes your judgment of speed and distances, often makes you less inhibited and makes you more prone to take chances. The important skills you need to drive safely are made weaker. Because your vision is normally restricted at night, it is especially dangerous to drink and drive after dark. Alcohol also reduces your ability to recover from the glare of headlights. When another vehicle moves toward you, you can be blinded by its headlights for a long period of time. You do not have to look or feel intoxicated for these things to occur. The symptoms of alcohol consumption can begin long before you become intoxicated or even legally impaired, and begin with the first drink. As alcohol physically limits your ability to drive, it also makes you less aware of what is happening to your safe driving abilities. It becomes difficult for you to judge your condition. You can gain confidence about driving when you should not be driving at all. During each mile you drive, you make hundreds of decisions. Your decisions turn into actions that keep your vehicle controlled and ensure you avoid crashes. Alcohol makes it difficult to make correct decisions and to take the safest actions. For example, you have just stopped at a stop sign. You see another vehicle approaching the intersection. You must quickly make a decision whether it is safe to go through the intersection. Under the influence of alcohol, you are more likely to make a wrong decision and take a chance. Your slower reaction time and the bad decision could cause a crash. Flashcard 70. Other drugs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, drugs, which include many prescription and over-the-counter medications, can affect your ability to drive. They can have effects similar to alcohol or even worse. If you take medication, even a remedy for colds or allergies that is not prescribed, check the label for warnings about its effects. If you are unsure, ask your doctor or pharmacist about driving while on the medication. Never drink alcohol while you are taking other drugs. It could be dangerous, often enhancing the effects of the alcohol and the other drug. For example, taking one drink while you are also using a cold remedy could affect you as much as several drinks. It can be a criminal offense to drive while impaired by the effect of drugs or alcohol and drugs. Illegal drugs like marijuana, cocaine, LSD, heroin and opium, and by some prescription drugs like tranquilizers. Drugs can affect your reflexes, judgment, vision and alertness in ways similar to alcohol, and they may have other dangerous effects as well. A combination of alcohol and other drugs severely reduces your ability to drive and can cause serious health problems, which can include death. Flashcard 71. Alcohol, other drugs and the law. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, in New York State, you can be arrested for any of these offenses: aggravated driving while intoxicated (AG DWI), driving while intoxicated DWI, driving with a blood alcohol content of 0.8% or more (.8 BAC), driving while ability impaired by a drug (DWI drug), driving while ability impaired by alcohol (DWI), or driving under the combined influence of alcohol and drugs. Blood alcohol content (BAC) is the percentage of alcohol in your blood and is normally determined by a chemical test of breath, blood, urine or saliva. A BAC of more than 0.5% is legal evidence that you are impaired. A BAC of 0.8% or higher is evidence of intoxication, and a BAC of 0.18% or more is evidence of aggravated driving while intoxicated. Many people think chemical test evidence is required to prove you were intoxicated or impaired. However, the testimony of a police officer about the way you drive, your appearance and behavior when arrested can provide enough evidence to convict you, even without a chemical test. If you are found guilty of any alcohol or drug-related violation, the court must revoke or suspend your driver license when you are sentenced. Even if the court allows you to continue driving for 20 days, your driver license will be taken immediately. The BAC standards and penalties for commercial drivers are even tougher than those indicated in this chapter. For complete information, see Section 1 of the Commercial Driver's Manual CDL 10. Flashcard 72. You're back. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, your blood alcohol content (BAC) depends on how much alcohol you drink, how much time passes between drinks, your weight. Your BAC does not depend on the type of beverage you drink, how fit you are, or how you can hold your liquor. Different types of drinks do not affect you differently. It is the amount of alcohol you consume, not whether it is in beer, wine or liquor, that raises your BAC and reduces your driving ability. These drinks contain about the same amount of alcohol: 1½ ounces of liquor, 5 ounces of wine, 12 ounces of beer and 12 ounces of wine cooler. None is safer to drink than the others. For a 150-pound male, Each one of these drinks contains enough alcohol to increase his BAC by about 2%. On average, it takes the body approximately 1 hour to remove that much alcohol. Studies indicate that a woman will take longer to process and remove alcohol from the blood. This can cause a higher BAC over a longer period of time compared to the 150-pound male described above. Your body weight can make some difference in the BAC and the effects of alcohol. No one has immunity to the effects of alcohol. It is a simple fact. The more you drink in a given period of time, the higher your BAC will be and the less safe you will drive. It takes only a few drinks to increase your BAC to levels at which it is illegal to drive. And remember, the effects of alcohol on your ability to drive begin at even lower BAC levels after just one drink. Eating before or while you drink helps slow the absorption of alcohol somewhat, but it cannot prevent intoxication or impairment if you have too much to drink. The only method to effectively reduce your BAC is to not drink over a period of time. Coffee, exercise and cold showers cannot reduce your BAC and the effects of alcohol. They can help you remain awake, but it cannot change your BAC or make you sober. Flashcard 73. Chemical tests. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, chemical tests use blood, breath, urine or saliva to measure the BAC of a person. If you are arrested for an alcohol or drug-related violation, the police officer will likely request that you submit to a chemical test. Under New York's implied consent law, when you drive a car in this state you are considered to have already given your consent to take this type of test. Chemical test refusal is a separate issue from whether you were guilty of an alcohol or drug-related violation. If you refuse to take the test after being arrested, your driver license will be suspended when you are arraigned in court on the alcohol or other drug-related charge. In addition, the fact that you refused a chemical test can be brought up in court when you are tried on the alcohol or drug-related charge. If a DMV hearing later confirms you refused the test, your driver license will be revoked even if you are found not guilty of the alcohol or other drug-related violation. For information about driver license revocations and civil penalties for chemical test refusals, see alcohol and drug driving violations. Flashcard 74. The consequences. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, the table penalties for alcohol/drug-related violations describes fines, surcharges, license penalties, and possible imprisonment if you are convicted of an alcohol or drug-related violation. Impaired or intoxicated driving can also have other serious results. Repeat offenders drivers with repeat dangerous driving convictions in New York State face one of the toughest licensing policies in the nation. These regulations call for lifetime record review by DMV. DMV will review the lifetime record of all drivers who apply to have a license reinstated after a revocation. Truly permanent license revocation for persistently drunk and dangerous drivers. After conducting a lifetime record review, DMV will deny any application for reinstatement of a license after revocation if the applicant has a circumflex Eurosense 5 or more alcohol or drug-related driving convictions in his or her lifetime, or a circumflex Eurosense 3 or more alcohol or drug-related driving convictions in the 25-year look-back period plus at least one other serious driving offense during that period. A serious driving offense includes a fatal crash, a driving-related penal law conviction, an accumulation of 20 or more points assessed for driving violations within the 25-year look-back period or having 2 or more driving convictions during the 25-year look-back period, each worth 5 points or more, delayed relicensing, driving restrictions, and interlocks for other drivers with repeated alcohol or drug-related driving convictions. For those drivers seeking reinstatement of a license after revocation who have 3 or 4 alcohol or drug-related driving convictions, but no serious driving offense in the 25-year look-back period, DMV will a circumflex Eurosense deny their applications for 5 years beyond their statutory revocation period if the applicant's license was revoked for an alcohol or drug-related offense, or 2 additional years if the applicant's license was revoked for a reason other than an alcohol or drug-related offense. A circumflex Eurosense restore the applicant's license after that additional period as a restricted license limiting the applicant's driving to, for example, travel to and from work or medical visits, and a circumflex Eurosense require an interlock device on the vehicle driven by the applicant for 5 years from the date of the interlock device installation, and the reduction of mandatory suspension or revocation periods. Previously, repeat drunk drivers whose licenses have been revoked or suspended could get their full driving privileges back in as little as 7 weeks by completing DMV's Impaired Driver Program. DMV's new regulations will ensure that those drivers cannot obtain their driving privileges until their full term of suspension or revocation has ended. Zero tolerance for drivers under age 21. The legal purchase and possession age for beverages containing alcohol in New York State is 21. Under the state's zero-tolerance law, it is a violation for a person under 21 to drive with any BAC that can be measured .2 to .7. After a finding of violation is determined at a DMV hearing, the driver license will be suspended for 6 months. The driver then must pay a $100 suspension termination fee and a $125 civil penalty to be relicensed. For a second zero-tolerance violation, the driver license will be revoked for at least 1 year or until the driver reaches 21, whichever is longer. Illegal purchase of beverages containing alcohol. When you use a driver license or non-driver ID card as proof of age to illegally purchase beverages that contain alcohol, state law requires the suspension of your driver license or privilege to apply for a license. Open container law. It is a traffic infraction for a driver or passenger in a motor vehicle on a public highway, street or road to drink a beverage containing alcohol or to have a beverage containing alcohol. The penalty for a first conviction is a fine up to $150, a mandatory surcharge, a crime victim assistance fee, and possible imprisonment of 15 days. Additional offenses within 18 months bring higher penalties. The law exempts passengers in vehicles like stretch limousines and other vehicles that display a commerce certificate or permit issued by the U.S. Department of Transportation or the NYS Department of Transportation. The Ignition Interlock Program and Lindra's law courts must order all persons convicted of driving while intoxicated or aggravated driving while intoxicated, or of a penal law of which an alcohol-related violation of any provision of Section 1192 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law is an essential element to install and maintain an ignition interlock on any vehicle owned or operated by such driver for at least 12 months. This device, purchased and installed at the expense of the motorist, is connected to a motor vehicle ignition system and measures the alcohol content of the breath of the driver. The vehicle cannot be started until the driver provides an acceptable sample breath. The 12-month requirement may be waived by the court if the defendant demonstrates that the interlock device was installed for at least 6 months, unless the court orders the interlock device to be installed for a longer period of time. The judge also must order an alcohol assessment for a repeat offender. If the assessment indicates alcohol treatment is necessary, the judge may be required to order the completion of treatment as a condition of probation. Drivers who commit these alcohol-related offenses with a child under 16 years old in the vehicle may be charged with a Class E felony, punishable by up to 4 years in prison. This is known as Lindra's law. The law also makes it a felony to drive drunk with a conditional license, which is a license that may be issued by the DMV when someone is convicted of an alcohol-related offense. Such a license may be used only for driving to and from essential destinations such as school, work and medical appointments. The conditional driver license will be revoked if the motorist does not comply with the court terms or for a conviction for any traffic offense except parking, stopping or standing. Flashcard 75. A few important reminders. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: if you kill or cause an injury to another person because of an alcohol or other drug-related violation, you can be convicted of criminally negligent homicide, vehicular manslaughter or assault. These carry a fine of thousands of dollars and a maximum jail term of 15 years. If you drive while your license is suspended or revoked, you face a mandatory fine of $200 to $1,000 and a mandatory jail term or probation. If impaired or intoxicated when you are arrested, the maximum mandatory fine is $5,000 and the vehicle can be seized. Liability insurance may not cover the cost of injuries and damage from a traffic crash. You could be sued for thousands of dollars, and you would find it difficult and expensive to buy liability insurance for several years. Besides fines and surcharges, you could also face costly legal fees. You could have a criminal record, which makes it harder to get a job or move forward in your job. Flashcard 76. How to avoid trouble. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: you are not likely to worry about the results of your actions while you are impaired or intoxicated. The time to consider them, and how to prevent them, is before you become impaired or intoxicated. If you go to events with the same group of friends, rotate drivers. Each friend takes a turn being the designated driver who does not drink any alcohol. Arrange to remain overnight or ride home with a friend who does not drink. Before you drink, give your car keys to a friend who does not drink and who will not let you drive after you drink. Call a cab or use public transportation. Drink slowly. Alternate between drinks with alcohol and drinks without any alcohol. Do not make alcohol the focus of your event. If you have had too much alcohol, stop drinking several hours before you intend to leave so your body can begin to lower your BAC. Flashcard 77. Drugs/alcohol. Basic overview. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: you have probably heard the facts before driving while impaired or intoxicated is a serious traffic safety problem in the United States. In New York State, more than 20% of all highway deaths involve the use of alcohol or other drugs, but the facts and statistics do not tell the whole story. Behind the numbers are thousands of lives cut short, permanent or disabling injuries, and families devastated because someone drove while under the influence of alcohol or other drugs. When you drink alcohol or take other drugs, safe driving is not possible. Not every impaired or intoxicated driver causes a traffic crash, but each one is dangerous. putting the lives of himself or herself and those sharing the road at risk. Young people, who have less experience with alcohol or drugs and driving, are at high risk. Drivers under age 21 are approximately 4% of the driving population, but 7% of the impaired drivers involved in fatal crashes. This is one reason the driver license revocation penalties are more severe for young drivers who drive under the influence of alcohol or other drugs. Because driving under the influence is so dangerous, the penalties for alcohol or drug-related violations are tough and enforcement is important. The chance of apprehension and conviction are high, and New York state law strictly limits your ability to plea bargain when charged with an offense related to alcohol or drugs. Flashcard 78. Railroad crossings. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is grade crossings. A grade crossing is the point at which train tracks intersect with a roadway and is considered an intersection. As you approach a crossing, always expect a train. Trains can run on any track at any time, from either direction. Never race a train to a crossing, never drive around lowered gates, and do not stop on tracks. You will learn later in the section what to do if your vehicle stalls or gets stuck on a track. When crossing tracks, always stay in your lane and in the same gear. Some grade crossings have flashing red lights or lowering gates when a train approaches. Active grade crossings. When approaching marked or active grade crossings, do not proceed until the gates are completely raised and the lights are off. It is illegal and dangerous to go around lowered gates or to cross while the lights are still flashing. Some grade crossing do not have gates or flashing lights. When approaching unmarked or passive grade crossings, slow down and be prepared to stop. Before you cross, be sure that a train is not coming. If you see a train coming, wait until it passes, and then cross the tracks when it is safe to do so. If there are multiple tracks, wait until you can clearly see down all sets of tracks in both directions for another approaching train before crossing. Remember that the train you see is closer and faster moving than you think, and be aware that trains cannot stop quickly. Flashcard 79. Railroad crossing warning sign. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is color, yellow with black letters, respiratory rate and X symbol, meaning there is a railroad crossing ahead. Use caution and be prepared to stop. If you are following a bus or truck approaching a railroad crossing, be careful. Most buses and some trucks must stop at railroad crossings. See railroad crossing signals. Flashcard 80. Railroad crossing signals. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is flashing red lights, lowered crossing gates and slash or a bell at a railroad crossing indicate that you must stop at least 15 feet 5 meters from the tracks. Do not go across the tracks until the lights and bell have stopped and the crossing gates are completely up. Do not drive around or under a gate that is moving up or down. Yield when you see the crossbox sign, which is a sign shaped like an X with railroad crossing printed on it. If there are multiple train tracks, the sign will show the number of tracks. Look and listen for trains before crossing any railroad tracks. If an approaching train is near enough or going fast enough to be a danger, you cannot go across the tracks, even if they have no signals or the signals are not working. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt to cross any railroad tracks unless you are certain your entire vehicle will clear all of the tracks at the crossing. You cannot go across any railroad tracks unless there is room for your vehicle on the other side. If other traffic prevents you from going fully across, wait and go across only when there is room. Full buses with or without passengers, other buses with passengers on board and vehicles with explosives or flammable cargo must stop at all railroad crossings. Remember those rules if you are following one of these vehicles. Flashcard 81. Pavement markings. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is sometimes grade crossings do not have flashing red light signals or gates. Pavement markings will often show you that a grade crossing is ahead. Stay behind the stop line while waiting for a train to pass. Flashcard 82. Stalling on railroad tracks. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, what should you do if you stall on the tracks, for any reason? 1. Get out. That includes everyone in the car, children, babies, an elderly passenger, etc. 2. Get away from the tracks, even if you do not see a train. 3. Locate the emergency notification system sign and call the number provided, telling them about the stalled vehicle. Run toward the general direction the train is coming from. If a train is approaching, run toward the train but away from the tracks at a 45-degree angle. If you run down the track, in the same direction as the train, you can be hit with debris when the train hits your vehicle. Flashcard 83. Expressway driving. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Expressway means any divided highway where traffic moves in one direction on two or more lanes. You normally enter or exit the expressway on ramps controlled access. The speed limit is normally 55 miles per hour 88 kilometers per hour, but can be posted at 65 miles per hour 100 kilometers per hour in some rural areas. Examples or expressways are the New York State Thruway, major interstate routes and parkways. Before you travel on an expressway, identify your entrance and exit points on a road map. Know where to get on and off the expressway, and be prepared to get into the correct lanes for your entrance and exit. If you enter an expressway going a different direction than you intended, or at the wrong exit, stay on the expressway until the next exit. After you exit the expressway, you can figure out where you need to go and if necessary get back on the expressway. It is dangerous to back up on an entrance or exit ramp, or to try to cross a median. Unless there is a stop or yield sign or traffic light on the entrance ramp, use the ramp to accelerate to expressway speed and blend with traffic signal. Then look over your shoulder for traffic already on the expressway. If necessary, slow down to safely merge into traffic. If the entrance lane is too short to allow acceleration to expressway speed, the safest method to enter is to stop and wait for a large space in traffic. Then enter the expressway and accelerate quickly. To avoid conflicts with other entrance lane traffic, stop when necessary and merge into expressway traffic as soon as possible. As you drive on the expressway, make sure to signal all lane changes and check over your shoulder to make sure you will not cut off any vehicles behind you. Make sure your directional signal goes off after you change lanes. Remain alert for traffic that enters ahead. If possible, move from the right lane when you approach the entrances to allow more room for traffic entering the expressway from the ramp. To prevent a last-minute lane change, check the destination and exit signs, and get into the correct lane for your exit ahead of time. Make sure to signal your exit at least 100 feet 30 meters before you reach the exit ramp. When you are on the exit ramp, decrease your speed. There is often a lower speed limit for the ramp. After you leave an expressway, look for speed limit signs and check your speedometer to be sure you are driving within the posted limit. You are not likely to be on a 55 miles per hour 88 kilometers per hour road. Expressway driving normally combines higher speeds with heavy traffic. The higher speed and amount of traffic require you to think faster and handle your vehicle in a more efficient manner than in most other conditions. On long trips, plan frequent rest stops. On a bright day, sunglasses can reduce glare and eye fatigue. Flashcard 84. Night driving. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, about 90% of your decisions are based on what you see. At night, you must use extra caution to make up for reduced visibility. You should also know that the ability to see well at night decreases with age. Night driving is more dangerous because the distance you can see ahead or to the side is reduced. You should drive slower than you would in daylight, especially in areas that are not known or on narrow roads with many curves. Your headlights cover about 350 feet ahead. It is important that you drive at a speed that allows you to stop safely within that distance. This is called driving within the range of your headlights. The law requires you to use your headlights from 1/2 hour after the sun sets to 1/2 hour before the sun rises, when visibility is less than 1,000 feet 300 meters and when you use your windshield wipers to clear rain, snow or sleet. Turn your headlights on at dawn, dusk and in fog. Even when headlights do not help you see in low light periods, they make it easier for other drivers and pedestrians to see your vehicle. Do not use parking lights or daytime lights as a replacement. Headlights do a better job. If an oncoming driver flashes headlights at you during a period of low visibility, it means your vehicle was difficult to see and you should turn on your headlights. Be considerate when you use your high beams. Your headlights must be on low beam when you are within 500 feet 150 meters of an oncoming vehicle or within 200 feet 60 meters of a vehicle ahead of you, even if the vehicle ahead is in a different lane. You should also dim your lights for pedestrians who approach you. Any fog or driving lights your vehicle has must be arranged, adjusted or operated to avoid dangerous glare to other drivers. If an approaching driver does not dim the headlights, flash your headlights to high beam for a second, then return to low beam. To help avoid the glare of approaching high beams, move your eyes to the right. Use the road edge as a guide until the approaching vehicle passes by. To reduce glare from the lights of following vehicles, switch your inside rear view mirror to the night position. Light from inside your vehicle or from street lights makes it harder for you to see the road ahead. Keep the interior roof light off and dim the dashboard lights. Adjust your visors to reduce glare from lights from above. A dirty windshield increases glare from approaching headlights. Make sure your lights and windshield glass are clean for night driving. Flashcard 85. Driving in rain, fog, and snow. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, A bit of rain, snow or ice makes roads slippery. Wet leaves can be slippery and hazardous. Reduced speed and increased following distance improve your safety under these conditions. See Chapter 8. Take additional care on curbs, turns and expressway ramps. In heavy rain, your tires can begin to ride on the water that is on top of the road pavement. This is called hydroplaning and can cause complete loss of traction and control of steering. Hydroplaning normally occurs at higher speeds, but it also can occur if your tires are tread-worn or not inflated properly. When there is heavy rain, it always makes sense to drive more slowly. If your vehicle begins to lose traction, decrease your speed even more. Good tires with deep tread help to prevent hydroplaning. Rain, fog or snow make it harder to see through your windshield, and difficult for other drivers to see you. New York state law requires you to turn on your headlights when the weather conditions require the use of windshield wipers to clear rain, snow, sleet or fog. Daytime lights do not qualify as headlights. Headlights on high beams reflect rain, fog and snow as it falls. This makes it even harder for you to see. For better visibility during these weather conditions, keep your headlights on low beam. Reduce your speed. Signal your turns further ahead of time to give other drivers and roadway users more warning. Brake early. When you decrease speed behind another vehicle or come to an intersection, stop. Some vehicles have front fog lights or front and back fog lights for use when heavy fog or similar hazardous weather conditions restrict visibility. In New York State, all fog lights must be correctly installed and of a type approved by the Commissioner of DMV. Front fog lights can be amber or white in color. Back fog lights must be red, and can be larger than the normal backlights. They will give advance warning of the presence of your vehicle to the drivers behind you. When visibility improves, you can switch off your fog lights to reduce the glare that can bother other drivers. Flashcard 86. How to drive in winter. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, winter is the most difficult season in which to drive. In addition to snow and ice on the roads, there are fewer hours of daylight. Before winter weather arrives, make sure your vehicle is in good condition. Make sure your vehicle has good snow tires. Put them on the vehicle before the first storm. Never combine radial and non-radial tires on the same vehicle. Tires with metal studs can be used in New York State only from October 16 through April 30. During ice or snow storms, do not drive unless you must. If you must drive, first clear the ice and snow from your vehicle. This includes the headlights and backlights, the windshield wipers and all of the windows. Make sure the windshield washer reservoir is filled with a clean solution that resists freezing. Drive slowly. Even if your vehicle has good traction in ice and snow, other drivers will travel with caution. Do not break the flow of traffic by driving faster than other vehicles. In a rear-wheel drive vehicle, you can normally feel a loss of traction or the start of a slide. With a front-wheel drive vehicle, there might not be a warning. Although front-wheel drive and four-wheel drive vehicles normally handle better in ice and snow, they do not have flawless traction. Skids can occur without a warning. Do not let the ability to better handle a front-wheel or four-wheel vehicle make you drive faster than the conditions dictate. The best method to recover from a skid is the same for both front and rear-wheel drive vehicles. If your rear wheels start to skid, turn the steering wheel in the direction the vehicle is trying to go. If your rear wheels slide left, steer left. If they slide right, steer right. If your rear wheels start to slide in the other direction as you recover, turn the steering wheel toward that side. You might have to turn the wheel left and right several times to get your vehicle completely controlled. If your vehicle has anti-lock brakes ABS, keep your foot with even pressure on the brake pedal. If your vehicle does not have ABS, pump the pedal carefully. Pump more rapidly only as your car slows down. If you brake hard with regular brakes, it will make the situation worse. If your front wheels skid, take your foot off the gas and shift to neutral or push in the clutch, but do not try to immediately steer. As the wheels skid sideways, they will slow the vehicle and traction will return. As traction returns, turn the wheel in the direction you want to go. Then put the transmission in drive or release the clutch and accelerate carefully. To prevent skids on snow and ice, brake early, carefully and gently. Press your brakes in slow, steady strokes. Allow the wheels to keep turning. If they begin to lock up, decrease pressure on the brake pedal. As your vehicle decreases speed, you can also shift into a lower gear. When sleet, freezing rain or snow begin to fall, remember that bridges, ramps and overpasses will freeze first. Also know that slippery spots may remain after road workers have removed the snow. Flashcard 87. How to avoid collisions with deer. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, 2/3 of all deer vehicle collisions occur during the months of October, November and December. This is also the time when deer breed and when they travel the most. Daily deer activity is highest at dawn and dusk, which often is the highest time of travel for motor vehicle commuters. Deer travel in groups. If you see one, expect more. Areas where there have been many deer vehicle collisions often are marked with deer crossing signs. The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation recommends these precautions motorists can take to reduce the chance of a deer hit. Be careful when you drive at dawn and dusk. This is when driver visibility is bad and the deer are most active. The risk of deer vehicle collisions increases when deer movements increase during breeding season in October, November and December. Decrease speed when you approach deer near roadsides. Deer can bolt or change direction at the last minute. If you see a deer go across the road, decrease speed and be careful. Deer travel in groups. Expect other deer to follow. Use emergency lights or flash your headlights to warn other drivers when deer are seen on or near the road. Use caution on roadways marked with deer crossing signs. These signs are put in areas that have had a large number of deer vehicle collisions. Flashguard 88. Driving emergencies. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, the most important rule in any emergency is do not panic. You have a better chance in an emergency if you do not let fear take over. In most emergencies, you will have a second or two to think before you act. Here is what to do in different emergency situations. Tire blowout. A thumpy sound can be a warning that a blowout is about to occur. If you hear it, get safely off the road and check your tires. If a tire blows out, hold the steering wheel tight and slowly take your foot off the gas pedal. If your vehicle skids, handle it as you would on ice or snow. Do not use your brake until your vehicle is controlled. Leave the road when it is safe to do so. Loss of a wheel. Handle this as you would a blowout. A thump or noise in the wheel can be a warning sound. Leave the roadway and stop. Then check your vehicle or have it checked. Steering failure. If your vehicle suddenly will not respond when you steer, slowly take your foot off the gas pedal, turn on your emergency lights and keep your foot off the brake pedal while it is safe to do so. The balance of the vehicle will allow it to continue going straight, but a sudden change in speed could send it out of control. As the vehicle decreases speed, you can brake very carefully to bring it to a stop. Brake failure. If your brake pedal suddenly goes to the floor, try pumping it to increase pressure. If that does not help, use your emergency or parking brake but use it gently. If you shift to a lower gear, it will help your vehicle decrease speed. Headlight failure. If your headlights suddenly go out, try your emergency lights, parking lights and directional signals. These may continue to work and can give you enough light to leave the roadway safely. If your headlights begin to dim, drive to a service station or pull off the road and go for help. Stuck gas pedal. Hook your shoe under the pedal and see if you can free it. If not, shift into neutral and use the brake to slow your vehicle and get off the road. Do not turn off the ignition if your vehicle has power steering or a steering wheel that has a column that locks, because if you do, you will lose your power steering or not have the ability to steer at all. Running off the pavement. If your wheels move off the pavement, do not pull the steering wheel back. Ease your foot off the gas pedal and brake gently. When your vehicle has decreased speed, check for traffic behind you, then turn carefully back onto the pavement. Vehicle approaching head-on in your lane. Decrease speed, pull over to the right and sound your horn to warn the other driver. Do not turn into the left lane. If you do, the other driver may suddenly recover and pull back into that lane, causing a head-on collision. Stalling on railroad tracks. If a train approaches, release your seatbelt, leave the vehicle and get as far away as you can from the tracks. Run toward the general direction the train is coming from. If you run down the track in the same direction as the train, you can be hit with debris when the train hits your vehicle. When you are completely sure no trains are coming, open your window to listen for a train and try to start the engine. If that fails, shift your vehicle into neutral and push it from the tracks. Going into water. A vehicle will normally float for a while, and you should have time to remove yourself before it starts to sink. Release your seatbelt and escape through a window. An open door would cause water to rush in and the car could turn over on top of you. If the vehicle sinks before you can remove yourself, get into the back seat. An air pocket can form there as the weight of the engine pulls the vehicle down front first. When the vehicle settles, take a breath and escape through a window. When you rise, air pressure will build in your lungs. Let it out in small breaths through your nose or lips as you surface. Do not hold your breath tight or try to blow air out. Just allow the air to escape in a natural way. Fire. If you see smoke come from under the hood, pull off the road and park your vehicle. Turn off the ignition. Get away from the car and call the fire department. It is dangerous to try to fight the fire yourself. Blocked vision. If your hood opens suddenly or your vision through the windshield becomes blocked by some other object or wipers that have failed, you can open the side window so you can see. Turn on your emergency lights and carefully pull your vehicle off the road and park it. Flashguard 89. Pedestrians and skateboarders. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, pedestrians and skateboarders are at high risk in traffic. The law requires you to be extra careful to avoid a collision with them. Look out for children near schools, bus stops, playgrounds, parks and ice cream trucks. When you back up your car or truck, look through your back window for pedestrians. Do not rely only on mirrors when children are near. Before you back into a driveway or out of it, get out of the vehicle and check behind your vehicle. Pedestrians are supposed to walk on the side of the road and face the traffic in the lane nearest them. When you make a right turn, watch for pedestrians on your right. When you make a left turn, watch for pedestrians on the other side of the road on your left. Pedestrians and skateboarders who are legally crossing the road or street at marked or unmarked crossings, like an intersection, always have the right of way. You must decrease your speed or, if necessary, come to a complete stop. The elderly and persons with disabilities can require additional time to complete their crossings. A special right-of-way law allows blind pedestrians to go across the road with a guide dog or a white or metal cane. you must always give them the right of way when they are trying to cross at a marked or unmarked crosswalk, even if the traffic signals or other right-of-way rules are not in their favor. Remember to move your eyes as you drive. Look to either side every few seconds to help you spot pedestrians near or approaching the roadway. The law requires pedestrians and skateboarders to obey traffic and pedestrian signals, traffic officers and official signs, use the sidewalk when available or face traffic as they walk, as far from the near traffic lane as possible. Never stand in the road to hitchhike or conduct business with motorists. Flashcard 90. Bicyclists and inline skaters. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, bicyclists and inline skaters have the right to share the road and travel in the same direction as motor vehicles. They are often hard to see in traffic and have no protection from a traffic crash. Check your blind spots before you make a turn, parallel park, open a door or leave a curb. Do not depend only on your mirrors. Turn your head to look for bicyclists and skaters and scooter operators that may be next to you or approaching. Give bicyclists and inline skaters room when you drive. Reduce speed as you pass them. Air pressure from a vehicle that passes them quickly can send them off balance. Be aware that the bicyclist or inline skater near or in front of you can react to road hazards like a motorcyclist would with sudden changes of speed, direction or lane position. The rules of the road and right-of-way apply to and protect these and other highway users. You must yield the right-of-way to them just as you would to another vehicle, and they must obey the rules of the road just as motor vehicle drivers do. Bicyclists and inline skaters must ride in a bicycle lane, if available. Where there is none, they must remain near the right curb or edge of the road or on a right shoulder of the road to prevent interference with other traffic. When they prepare for a left turn or must move left to avoid hazards, cyclists do not have to remain to the right. Come to a full stop before they enter a roadway from a driveway, an alley or over a curb. Never travel with more than 2 side by side in a single lane. Never ride on a sidewalk if it is prohibited by local laws. Bicyclists and their passengers and inline skaters, ages 1 through 13, must wear an approved helmet. Adults must obey any local laws or regulations about helmet use. Bicyclists also must signal turns, lane changes and stops through the use of the hand signals shown. A bicyclist can signal a right turn when they extend the right arm straight out to the right. Bicyclists must use hand signals when turning left. Turn left arm fully extended to left. Stop left arm extended and bent down at elbow. Right turn right arm fully extended to right or left arm extended and bent up at elbow. Never carry an infant under a year old as a passenger. It is against the law. Child passengers ages 1-4 years old must ride in attached bicycle safety seats. Never carry a passenger unless the bicycle has a passenger seat. Keep at least one hand on the handlebars at all times, and do not carry any item which prevents correct control of the bicycle. Any bicycle crash that causes death or serious injury must be reported to DMV within 10 days of the incident. Bicycle accident report forms MV 104C are available at any motor vehicle office. A bicycle driven on public highways must have adequate brakes and a horn or bell that can be heard at least 100 feet 30 meters away. A bicycle used at night must have a headlight visible from at least 500 feet 150 meters ahead and a red taillight visible from at least 300 feet 90 meters behind. One of these lights must be visible from at least 200 feet 60 meters away on each side. A bicycle sold by a dealer must have wide-angle, spoke-mounted reflectors or reflective tires, a wide-angle rear reflector and pedal reflectors. Flashcard 91. Motorcyclists. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, as a driver, you share the road with a lot of other motorists, not all of which are driving cars or trucks. Motorcycles are common on New York roads. As a driver, you are responsible to be aware of motorcycles and understand how to safely share the road with them. Motorcycles, which include scooters and mopeds, come in a variety of shapes and sizes. New York state law defines a motorcycle as every motor vehicle having a seat or saddle for the use of the rider and designed to travel on not more than 3 wheels in contact with the ground, by excluding a tractor. Most motorcycles you'll see have either 2 or 3 wheels. Examples include but are not limited to cruisers, standards, dual sport, off-road, sport bikes, tours, mopeds, and scooters. Motorcyclists have the same rights and responsibilities as drivers of other vehicles and must follow the same traffic laws as pedestrians, bicyclists, and skaters. Though you may often see motorcycles on the roads in the spring, summer, or fall, you can encounter motorcycles anytime and anywhere. Because we don't see them all year, we may not actively think about them. When there is a crash involving a motorcycle and another vehicle, the rider and passenger have a much higher chance of being seriously hurt or killed than the driver and passengers of the other vehicle. Though motorcyclists are required to wear approved helmets and goggles or a face shield, motorcycles themselves do not offer the rider the protections that you have with other types of vehicles. For example, motorcycles don't protect the rider with a frame around the rider. Many drivers who are involved in a crash with a motorcyclist report that they did not see the motorcycle. The question is, why not? There are several factors that make motorcyclists less visible. Motorcycles, when compared to other highway users, are smaller. No matter from which direction you view a motorcycle, front, back, or side, you'll find they are smaller than most other highway users. Motorcycles may appear to move faster than other vehicles. A motorcycle's smaller size makes it seem much farther away, and makes it difficult to judge how far away they are or how fast they are going. Motorcycles may not take up the entire lane, because they are not as wide as other vehicles, but an experienced rider may move around within a lane to avoid obstacles, or to help them see better. In addition to using the full lane, 2 motorcyclists are allowed to ride side by side in a single lane, but a motorcyclist cannot pass or share a lane with another motor vehicle that is not a motorcycle. If you are overtaking a car/SUV/truck, you might not have seen the motorcycle in front of that vehicle until you're already in the passing lane. The same holds true if you are entering an expressway. You may not see a motorcycle that is driving in the left portion of the lane you intend to merge into. Motorcycle lighting is different, and often less obvious, than other vehicles. Headlights and taillights on motorcycles must be illuminated when driving. But, with so many vehicles equipped with daytime running lights, i.e. headlights that are always on even in daylight, motorcycle headlights don't stand out. It's harder to see the brake lights. Tail lights on a motorcycle are generally smaller in size than those on other vehicles, and because motorcycle tail lights are always on, the brake lights don't always stand out. Motorcycles don't have a tail light at eye level. Most cars and trucks are equipped with a center high mount stoplight CHMSL, which is designed to be at, or close to, eye level. Most motorcycle brake lights are mounted lower than eye level, which makes them less obvious to many motorists. Turn signals on motorcycles are often close to the headlight or taillights, which can make them more difficult to see. Additionally, on most motorcycles, the directional signal does not turn off automatically after a turn, so their turn signal may be on inadvertently when the motorcyclist has no intention of turning. Intersections can be especially dangerous for motorcycles. It's human nature to notice large vehicles first. Motorcycles are smaller than other vehicles, and they may seem to blend in. Numbers help tell the story. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reports that, in 2015, 41% of fatal motorcycle crashes in the U.S. occurred with the other vehicle turning left while the motorcycles were going straight, passing, or overtaking other vehicles. In 2014, there were 4,750 reported motorcycle crashes in New York State. 2,546 of these crashes involved another vehicle. That's 53.6% of the reported crashes. Another factor is that drivers may not see motorcycles simply because they don't look for motorcycles. It's human nature to look for something specific. A new driver may be told to look for cars and trucks before going through an intersection, and that is precisely what he will look for. All drivers need to train themselves to look for a multitude of hazards, including but not limited to trucks, buses, bicyclists, pedestrians, and motorcycles. Because motorcyclists must take additional precautions when they come upon special highway surfaces, you should know what a motorcyclist may do. The motorcyclist may quickly change speed or lane position to avoid loose gravel, debris, seams or grooves in the pavement, sewer or access covers or small animals. When approaching a railroad crossing, a motorcyclist may decrease speed and rise off the seat to cushion the rough crossing and change direction to go across the tracks at a right angle. On steel deck bridges, the motorcyclist may move to the center of the lane to adjust for the surface that is not even. Stay a good distance behind a motorcyclist in this situation. Drivers need to adjust how they drive around motorcycles. Don't tailgate. Motorcycles can stop in a shorter distance than cars under the right conditions. Also, it may be more difficult to notice they are slowing or stopping. If it's raining or dark, give motorcycles even more space. Be careful when you pass a motorcyclist. Like bicycles, the air pressure created by vehicles as they quickly pass by can affect motorcycles. Flashcard 92. Moped operators. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, limited-use motorcycles, often called mopeds, are low-speed, 2- or 3-wheeled vehicles for limited use on public highways. There are 3 different classes of mopeds based on maximum performance speed. The chart below describes the requirements for moped operation. Class B and C mopeds can be driven only in the right lane of traffic, as far to the right as possible. Class A mopeds are allowed to drive in any lane and any section of a lane. Mopeds are not permitted on expressways or other controlled access highways unless posted signs permit it. When you approach a moped, use the same precautions you would when you approach a bicyclist, one except when making a left-hand turn 2. If a Class C limited-use motorcycle is used in a rental business, insurance is mandatory. 3. Safety responsibility is the requirement to pay for or post security for damage or personal injury you may cause in traffic crash. 4. Usual learner's permit and junior license restrictions apply. 5. Motorcyclists must wear approved motorcycle helmets, as defined by US. Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards FMVSS 218. To improve the motorcyclist's visibility, the DMV recommends that helmets have at least 4 square inches of reflective material on both sides. Motorcyclists must also wear approved eye protection, even if the motorcycle is equipped with a windshield. Prescription or made-to-order safety glasses may be used if the user can present written certification that they meet DMV standards. The eye protection must be manufactured in conformity with the regulations issued by the Vehicle Equipment Safety Commission VESCATE. Flashcard 93. Large vehicles. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, in more than 60% of all fatal crashes involving cars and big trucks, the car driver, not the truck driver, contributes to the cause of the traffic crash. 4 out of 5 times, it is the car driver who is killed. Many of these crashes could be prevented if motorists know about truck and bus limitations and how to steer free from situations that are unsafe and involve large vehicles. Large trucks, recreational vehicles and buses are not big cars. The bigger they are, the bigger their blind spots, the longer it takes them to stop. The more room they need to maneuver, the longer it takes for an auto to pass them. Blind spots different from cars. Large vehicles have deep blind spots directly behind them. They also have much larger blind spots on both sides than cars do. Tractors with long hoods can have a blind spot of 20 feet in front of the vehicle. You should avoid these no zones. No zone blind spots around large vehicles. Side blind spots. Large vehicles have much larger blind spots on both sides. If you drive in these blind spots, you cannot be seen by the driver. Even if the driver knows you are there, if you remain next to the vehicle, it can make it difficult for the driver ability to avoid a dangerous situation. Blind spots in back. If you remain in the back blind spot of a large vehicle, you increase the chance of a crash. The other driver cannot see your car, and your view of other traffic will be blocked. Distance to stop. Large vehicles take much longer to stop than smaller vehicles that travel at the same speed. For tractor trailers, the difference comes from brake delay. Air brakes transmit brake power from the tractor to the trailer, and this can add many feet to the distance it takes to stop. Leave plenty of space between your car and the truck. If you are in front of a truck, indicate your intention to turn or change lanes early. Do not make sudden moves. Average stopping distance at 55 miles per hour. Ability to maneuver. Large vehicles are not as maneuverable as cars. They take longer to stop and to accelerate, and they often need to move wide to make their turns. You can reduce the chance of a collision with a large vehicle if you do not cut abruptly in front of the large vehicle when you exit. Take a few additional seconds to decrease speed and exit behind it. When you pass, do not pull in front of it unless you can see the whole front of the vehicle in your mirror. Pay close attention to the turn signals. Because trucks make wide right turns, they move to the left before they turn right. Look at the turn signals. Do not delay near a large vehicle. You may not be visible to the driver in the wide area the truck needs for making a turn. When you pass a large vehicle, it takes a longer time and requires more space than when you pass a car. On a two-way road, leave more time and space when you pass a large vehicle. Make sure you can see the whole front of the vehicle before you return to your lane after you pass. A large vehicle normally loses speed on a grade or a hill. Look far ahead when you drive. If you need to pass a large vehicle, be prepared and know when you are near a grade that can cause the other vehicle to decrease speed. Also, as your own vehicle begins a downward grade, the speed of the other vehicle can increase significantly. This will increase the time it takes you to pass it. When a truck is backing up, never pass close behind a large vehicle that is backing up. Often a truck driver has to block a road to back into an area to load or unload goods. Be patient. It is far better to wait until the large vehicle has completed its backup maneuver than to try to pass. If you try to pass in this situation, it is likely that you will enter one of the blind spots. This could make your vehicle invisible to the driver and increase the risk of a traffic crash. When you approach a truck, do not underestimate the size and speed of an approaching tractor trailer or other large vehicle. Its larger size will often make it appear to move at a slower speed than it really is. Also, from a distance it may not appear to be as large as it really is. That other vehicle will often reach you before you expect. When you drive on a two-way highway, it is often better to move as far to the right as possible to make sure your vehicle will not be hit by an approaching tractor trailer or other large vehicle. When you stop behind a truck, always leave space when you stop in back of a truck or bus at a traffic light or stop sign, especially when you face up a hill. The truck or bus could stop or move backward slightly when it starts. If you leave enough room between your vehicle and the vehicle ahead, you usually can pull away from behind and go around it. Flashcard 94. Slow-moving vehicles. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, the slow-moving vehicle symbol, a reflective orange triangle, must be displayed on the back of vehicles drawn by animals, most farm vehicles, and construction equipment. The United States Postal Service also requires these orange safety triangles to be displayed on all rural mail delivery vehicles. Use caution when you approach a slow-moving vehicle and make sure it is safe before you pass. Flashcard 95. Horseback riders. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, horse riders are subject to, and protected by, the rules of the road. They also must ride single file near the right curb or road edge, or on a right shoulder lane or path that can be used. The law requires you to be careful when you approach a horse being ridden or walked along a road. You must drive at an acceptable speed and at an acceptable distance away from the horse. It is illegal to sound your horn when you approach or pass a horse. Flashcard 96. All-terrain vehicles and snowmobiles. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, state law allows all-terrain vehicles, ATVs and snowmobiles to legally go across many state highways and local roadways. Before they cross, they must come to a stop and yield to traffic. They must go across at a 90-degree angle to the road surface. Flashcard 97. At the scene, think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, if you are in a crash, you must stop. The level of damage does not matter. You must stop. It is a traffic violation to leave the scene of an incident, like a traffic crash that involves property damage. It is a criminal violation to leave the scene of an incident that involves a fatality or personal injury. Even if the crash involves only property damage, you must exchange information with other drivers involved. Give your name, address, driver license number, vehicle registration and insurance information. This includes the insurance policy number and effective date. Give the information to the other drivers and police on the scene. You must show your insurance identification card if requested. If a parked vehicle or property different from a vehicle is damaged or if a domestic animal is injured, you must try to find the owner or notify the police. If any person is injured or killed, the police must be notified immediately and you should make sure ambulance or rescue personnel have been called. If possible, move your vehicle off the road. Protect the scene with reflectors or flares, but watch for any fuel that may leak. Make sure to protect yourself and others from oncoming traffic. Flashcard 98. Emergency first aid. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, do not stop at a crash scene unless you are involved or emergency help has not arrived. Focus on driving and the directions given by traffic officers. Follow these first aid tips if help is not immediately available. Do not move an injured person unless it becomes necessary, because of fire or another life-threatening danger. If you must move an injured person, keep the back and neck as straight as possible. Put your arms under the back, and carefully support the neck with your upper arms. Hold clothing with your hands, and pull the victim head first away from danger. If there are wires down, do not go near them. If wires touch the vehicle or lay near it, warn the occupants to remain inside until help arrives. Flashcard 99. Reports to DMV. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is, if you are in a traffic crash that involves a fatality or personal injury, you must report it to the DMV. You must also report any traffic incident or crash that involves $1,000 or more in damage to the property of any one person. The form Report of Motor Vehicle Accident MV-104 is available at any motor vehicle office, from most insurance agents and from the DMV website. Search under Forms. When you report a crash or incident to your insurance company, it does not mean your legal obligation is finished. You must file a report with DMV within 10 days of the event. The failure to report an accident is a criminal offense misdemeanor and can mean the suspension or revocation of your driver license and / or registrations, and those of the vehicle owner. If the driver is injured and unable to complete the report, a passenger or the vehicle owner may do so.